the Analog Circle podcast. We find out what direction the next Resident Evil will be going in. I have questions about it, but it does sound interesting. We get a very small bit of news about Corey Barlog's new game that's in development. Xbox third-party support could be in trouble. Oh man, we got to talk about that. And Phil Spencer talks about opening up the Xbox console in a way that I don't understand, but we will discuss. All of these stories can be found here and more in episode 203 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and welcome to the show. It's always great to have you guys here. It is always very, very much so appreciated, and it is a privilege. Now, with that being said, guys, if you want to be a part of the next episode of listener feedback, you can do that two different ways. You can either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I decided to record a little early this week. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do a show on Sunday, so I wanted to give you guys a show today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news that went down. So let's get things started with probably the biggest story of the week. So because of Xbox's abysmal sales of their console, is starting to catch up with them. So in a new report from GameIndustry.biz, Chris Dring, he said during the Game Developers Conference, the predominant feeling was the status of Microsoft and Xbox. He says, quote, "The other thing I heard it from a very prominent company, and one not so prominent, was Xbox's performance in Europe is just flatlining. You can follow our monthly coverage in the games market, and you can see that Xbox sales are falling, and it's been falling all throughout last year, and it's falling harder, even harder this year." The phrase one major company who released a big game last year said, "I don't know why we bothered supporting it." End of quote. Now, lastly, it was mentioned that third-party publishers view the market right now as PC and PS5. Very interesting. When you think about that, them viewing it as a PC and PlayStation 5 market from a third party perspective, I guess that does make a little sense, because you got Nintendo, they're known for basically their games. You've never really heard of a third party doing amazingly well on the Nintendo console. So I can understand that. But then you go around to Xbox and you have to ask the question, well, what the world is going on with Xbox? What is happening? Why aren't they selling, the way that these third-party developers, or at least some, according to this article, at least two, a big one and a smaller one, they were wondering, why, well, not necessarily why they aren't selling, but more so the question has to begin to be, why are we even supporting this thing? I mean, you heard the quote where the gentleman, his name again, that wrote this article is Chris Dring. He said that from one of those third parties, he said, quote, I don't know why we bothered supporting it. So when you have developers coming out and they're saying those kind of things, that is very alarming, because I'm sure that they're not alone. I'm sure there are other developers out there that are feeling the same way about this situation. So that can impact some things for Xbox moving forward. I know Phil Spencer, In some of those meetings, he said that they were having a hard time getting deals where, PlayStation, they were pretty much just flocking over to PlayStation for half the cost. Sometimes I don't know. I don't know about no cost. I'm not going to go that far. I'd be lying if I said that. But Phil Spencer definitely made it a point to have it so us listening to that podcast that he had, I forgot who it was with. I know that Paris Lilly, shout out to that good brother, he was conducting that podcast, but he was saying that they were just having a hard time getting certain games or games, from certain developers, versus PlayStation. They were able to just get these deals with really no problem. So when you look at it from that perspective, they're definitely struggling. It's tough times out here for the Xbox brand. Them always telling people that no console required. Play on your phone, play on your tablet, play on PC, play on your TV. That whole narrative, it is killing their console when it comes to the sales, at least over in Europe. Now, that's the thing. Now, Europe is somewhere else, why the world I had to say it like that, somewhere else. But, they're outside of the U.S. I'm sure that, matter of fact, I'm not going to say I'm sure. I'm going to check out the numbers. Let's just see how much of a lead PlayStation has on Xbox. How many PlayStation 5s have sold?
According to VG Charts, the PlayStation 5 has now sold an estimated 48.93 million units lifetime worldwide. The Nintendo Switch sold an estimated 1,667,465 units to bring its lifetime sales to 100.
All that. How many units has Xbox Series X sold?
27.7 million units.
Right.
According to Statista.
That's all we need. You ain't got to say no more. That's all we need, buddy. So, yeah, they're getting beat up pretty bad. But this definitely is alarming. Hopefully they'll be able to come back from this. I don't know how. Matter of fact, y'all see the question. We'll discuss this a little later because I'm looking at the time right now and I'm going to have to move this thing along. So we're going to kind of speed run through the rest of the show. But, this is definitely, this is not good. But let's move on into the next story I got from Yahoo Tech. So Corey Barlog over at Sony Santa Monica took to Twitter to reveal that, quote, some early things, end of quote, are coming together quite nicely on his project, indicating the project could still be in early development. Clues pieced together by fans from previous reports and job descriptions suggest that Santa Monica's new game could be an RPG or have RPG elements. Now, it was also rumors that it could have been a sci-fi IP, but it is speculation that that project may have been canceled. But back in February, Sony Interactive trademarked something titled Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet under categories for video game software. Now, what's also worth noting, though, for a few years, it has been a rumor that Naughty Dog is working on a sci-fi game as well. So it's still not a guarantee that this title that's called The Heretic Prophet, Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, that doesn't necessarily mean that it could be Corey Barlog's game per se, but it could be Naughty Dog's. Possibly. But just the fact that Corey Barlog is working on anything that has RPG elements or could be a RPG, I'm very, very interested in that. I mean, we know he did such a great job with God of War 2018. Did such an excellent job with that. The story, the graphics, gameplay, voice acting, it was the full package. So anything that has his name on it, I'm always interested in seeing, what's going to happen with it. The only thing that was a bit alarming to me, though, reading this report was that it seems like it could still be in early development. So we'll have to follow this story as it unfolds, but we could be waiting a while to get this one in the future. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I actually got from Yahoo Tech as well. So in CD Projekt Red news, Cyberpunk 2077 will be available for free to try out from March 28th until the 31st. Now, the trial is for 5 hours, well, up to 5 hours, and it will only be available for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Now, the start time is 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and 8 a.m. Pacific. Now, this version will include all the updates and enhancements that have been made to the game. I am very excited about this. I did buy Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox One, and I played it. Got about 15 hours into it. I thought it was a good game. I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, it was struggling, though, brothers and sisters. Think that joker dropped down to 4 frames a second at one point in time. But the story was really well done. The voice acting was good. The graphics, I thought the graphics were good for, what they were able to work with the Xbox One. So to think about this version being pretty much the definitive version of the game, that gets me very excited to see that leap in not just graphics, but performance when it comes down to the PlayStation 5 version. So I'm very, very excited about this, and hopefully you guys will download it and enjoy it as well. Let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So speaking of free trials, Stellar Blade will have a demo releasing this Friday on the 29th. God, oh buddy, I'm excited about this. And the thing that I like about this is if you enjoy it enough and you buy it, the progress that you made in the demo will carry over to the full game. Now, I have been seeing small previews about this game a little bit. And one thing that is a bit alarming, even though I am very much so highly anticipating this game, Stellar Blade, it is a bit of a question mark that I have when it comes to it. When I heard that this game kind of has a bit of a Souls-like kind of feel to it, that's very questionable for me because I am not at all a Souls fan. In my mind, I thought it was going to be more so like Bayonetta, and the article did point out that it is not so much Bayonetta than being more so like a Souls type game. So I don't know. I'm very happy that they are releasing this demo. I shout out the PlayStation for this, doing this. And man, they have been on a roll with these demos. Final Fantasy VII Part 2 release. I know it's not called Part 2, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But that releasing with a demo, this releasing with a demo, even Spider-Man 2, even though you had to be part of that top tier, what is it called? Subscription, to be able to get that, but they did have a demo available. So they don't seem to be afraid to have these demos come out and release. And that is very, very exciting for me. So just the fact again, that this seems like this may be a little on the soul side, for me to be able to try it out myself and really see what it's about, see what it's like, see what the gameplay feels like. I'm very, very excited and happy that they decided to do this. Hopefully you guys, just like Cyberpunk 2077, for guys that haven't bought that game already, because that game sold crazy. But if you haven't bought Cyberpunk 2077, especially not the definitive edition or the ultimate edition, as it were, then, hopefully you'll download that as well as this. But what I was trying to say, though, with Cyberpunk 2077, I don't know if the progress that you make inside of the 5-hour trial will actually go over into the full game if you decide to purchase it. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. And this story I got from Push Square. This is actually a little old. This happened today, so I guess it's not that old. But if you were a huge BioShock fan, just like me, I was a big fan of it. And you're looking forward to Judas you would be in luck because Ryan McCaffrey tweeted out, quote, "Last week I flew to Boston to play 6 hours of Judas and then at Jeff Keighley, who joined me, and I interviewed at Levine for over an hour about the long wait since BioShock Infinite, Judas bold narrative bet, and more. The full interview drops on IGN tomorrow, which is today. It dropped today at 9 a.m. Pacific time and 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which today is the 27th. So if you guys didn't know that this happened, definitely go over to IGN, check it out for yourself. I haven't got a chance to check it out today, but I'll probably check it out while I'm on the road later on tonight. Probably going, I have no idea where I'm going. If I'm going to Buffalo or Connecticut, I have no idea, but we'll see how this goes, man. This is something I've really been looking forward to. I love Ken Levine's work. I was a big fan of BioShock Infinite. That ending, I still didn't understand it. People act like it was so deep. I didn't understand the meaning of it, but I loved the game, though. I thought it was great, so hopefully it kind of keeps with kind of similar to those kind of those gameplay elements that were inside of BioShock. Hopefully it'll carry over into Judas, and maybe even during that interview, some of you guys may have seen it already, but hopefully he gives a timeline of when this game will be released. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So this next story, I actually got it from Pure Xbox. So it's just pretty much a follow-up news story. Australian Classification Board has rated Star Wars Outlaws with a rating of M, which shows the game is possibly closer to releasing than we may have thought. So this is excellent for me. The more people that are rating this game, the better, which means that it's that much closer to releasing. I'm hoping that it releases sometime in the summer. And the reason why I'm hoping for that to be the case is because that's not too far away. This is definitely my most anticipated game for the year. I'm not really that excited to this level for any other game that's releasing this year, at least not to my knowledge at the moment. So, yeah, I'm really, really hoping that this releases over the summer. And again, just the fact that the people over in Australia, their classification board rated it with an M rating, which is crazy because, God dog, they said the same thing over there with Korea. They gave it the highest rating it could have as well, saying that it wasn't suitable for kids. Again, they probably on the same type of time that Korea is on. It's going to have gambling in it, and they don't want young people playing the game because of that. Again, I don't think it has to do with any violence, any nudity, or, anything like that, because it is a Star Wars game at the end of the day. But hopefully, again, it releases soon. But let's go ahead and let's get into the next story that I got from Polygon. So it's also word that Phil Spencer wants to bring the Epic Game Store over to Xbox consoles. Now, Phil sat down with Polygon to explain that the console market is flat, meaning it's not growing. But one of the ways to provide more options for players would be to open consoles up. Phil Spencer said this, and I quote, he says, "Nobody would blink twice if I said, hey, when you're using a PC, you get to decide the type of experience you have by picking where to buy games. There's real value in that. If I want to play on a gaming PC, then I feel like I'm more of a continuous part of a gaming ecosystem as a whole, as opposed to on console. My gaming is kind of sharded, to use a gaming term, based on these different closed ecosystems that I have to play across." End of quote. So would this be a good idea? Would this be something that would be really good for the Xbox brand? That let's say that they do bring the Epic Store in. Phil Spencer, this would probably be a crazy workhorse of work to do to actually implement a store on the Xbox console on top of them already having their own store. But what if they were to be able to do that? Would that be a good thing? Because I'm thinking here, just a couple of weeks ago, we had talked about PC and how with PC, they actually have so many different options on where they can buy their games. So it's never a monopoly on the market, even though the PC, it's its own thing, but it has multiple stores to choose from inside of that PC ecosystem. You can go to Epic. You can go to Steam, which seems to be everybody's go-to, but I've also heard about Green Man Gaming being another outlet that people go to that play on PC. How would this work for console, though? Would it be a situation where Phil Spencer, he sets these things up and, you're able to have so many different options? I think it's dope. I think it's actually a really, really good thing. But would that be counterproductive for what they're trying to do? Now, granted, I'm sure that if they were to allow these people on their platform, they would probably be getting a certain percentage from their sales of what they've been able to do. But then again, would they even go for that? Would Steam even go for that, knowing how successful that Steam platform is? They don't need Xbox. They're doing phenomenally well, completely on their own. I don't think Epic would bite. I don't know. This is Phil Spencer's thought process, though. This is where he's at right now. It's an interesting thought. I just don't know. I don't know what the end goal is, though. Like, how does this make Xbox better? How does it make it a better platform? Could it be a situation? Now, it would be a little different. Now, I will say, because we are going towards this all digital future at a fast clip, I will say that if we ever got to that point and we couldn't go to Best Buy, we couldn't go to Walmart, which those places are becoming a lot less friendly when it comes to physical games. Even GameStop said that they didn't even meet their numbers. They didn't meet their numbers by like 50%. They fell short when it came to sales. So it's a huge decline when it comes to these physical games. So if it ever got to the point where we were all digital and Xbox said, well, look, you don't have to just worry about our store, shopping on our store. You actually have other stores within our ecosystem to shop at. That could be something dope. That could really, really be a great look. I could see it from that perspective, but are they real? This is the thing. Would they really let these third-party outlets, these third-party merchants actually sell their game cheaper than they would sell their own game? That's where it's a bit of conflict right there, where I'm saying to myself, how does this make the console better at its core? Because at its core, every console is about the games. Nothing more, nothing less. How great are your games? That's going to decide how many consoles you sell. What games do you have coming? So, that's why this is a big question mark for me, but they did, just to continue with this story a little bit, keeping with this theme, Microsoft did say it will create a universal storefront that hosts console, PC, and mobile games in a single shop. So again, with that in mind, that could open up the possibilities of these other merchants being able to join inside of the Xbox ecosystem. Man, I don't know. But Phil Spencer, he's continuing to try things, trying to do things differently. He said that they're opening up the console for the next generation because they feel like, if they own an Android or if they own an iPhone, they can still get to TikTok. They can still play the same games and all of this other stuff. And I'm just like, Phil, God, dog, brother, just concentrate on the games. Just concentrate on that. You got third-party support, getting nervous, saying, why did they even bother supporting your console? You got bigger fish to fry, my brother. God darn. The thing is, I think that Microsoft, the Xbox brand, I think they have this thing where they spread themselves too thin. They're trying to be everybody's friend. You can't be everybody's friend. You got to do what's best for your ecosystem. Nintendo don't give a darn about PC. You don't see any of their games on PC. They had a small run with mobile. That ended. And you haven't heard anything else about it. Nintendo has moved on, and they probably only did that because at that point in time, they were struggling a little bit. So they were like, look, we need a couple extra dollars. Let's use this mobile situation, get ourselves, not necessarily out of a hole, but get ourselves a couple of dollars, and we going to move on. Since the Switch has been as successful as it has been, you haven't even heard Nintendo talking about mobile. They're like, we are mobile. So I just think that sometimes Phil Spencer, and not just him, because it is a team effort, I think sometimes they think about too many other factors instead of just sticking to the basics. Create great games, Phil, and you'll be fine, man. And just tell people to buy your console instead of telling people that no console required. Kind of make a case for people to buy the console. That could help you as well. But let's move into the next story because we're almost finished here. This is just on a side note. Immortals of Avium will be available for PlayStation Plus members as well as Minecraft Legends on April 2nd if you are interested. Immortals of Avium is a phenomenal game. It has Unreal Engine 5 at the helm. God darn. Shout out to that game. That game is dope. I'm really hoping y'all check it out. It's free with your subscription. Check out Immortals of Avium, please, if you may. But let's get into, you know what, ho. Before we get to the final story, though, God dog, shout out to Crimson Phoenix, man. Almost forgot, my good brother. Crimson Phoenix actually sent me a voicemail that I missed during the last show. So let me try to find that real quick and pull that up. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. Here we go. It's coming. I got it. Here it is. All right. This is Crimson Phoenix, his voicemail. Here we go.
Hey, yo, this is Crimson Phoenix. Hey, man, that deserved a call in, bro. I'm really happy that you managed to get Liam on for a nice little sit-down session, and I really enjoyed the content. And, hey, I kind of feel like maybe you should do that a little more often. Well, I appreciate you, and keep it coming. I always enjoy the podcasting, regardless what the episodes are. And, just keep it up. Love what you play what you love. Bye.
Love what you play and play what you love. Shout out to you, Crimson. Great words to live by, my good brother. I appreciated the kind words, man. That was very, very nice of you to bring up the interview that I had with Liam. Shout out to that good brother. I really had fun talking to him about the esports scene and the things that go on, behind the scenes when it comes to that. So if you haven't listened to that interview, I highly recommend you do, especially if you're interested in the esports scene. Again, thank you so much for that, Crimson Phoenix. I really, really appreciated it, brother. It was another thing that you had mentioned too, Crimson Phoenix, about third-party support that I had missed. Talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, this is interesting, talking about third-party support, because I believe you said that would be the deciding factor. Will they deem the PlayStation 5 Pro a console where they want to push it, to its limit? Interesting thing came out during the Game Developers Conference, where the same guy that was reporting on the third-party publishers and developers, well, not necessarily developers, but just third party in general, saying that they were a little worried about Xbox's sales. During that same conference, that Game Developers Conference, he had talked to other developers that had said that they don't even understand why the PlayStation 5 Pro even exists, why they would bring out something like that. And the reason why was because the developer said they haven't pushed the PlayStation 5 to its limits yet. So why would they bring out a PlayStation 5 Pro? They set it up like this, and I'm not going to remember it verbatim, but I do remember inside the article, he said that the developer said for the first 2 years that the PlayStation 5 was out, you couldn't go out to the store and readily buy it. So people have just got into the PlayStation ecosystem at a bigger rate, since like going on year 3 of the console. They were having cross-gen development that was happening for like those 2+ years, and they're just finally starting to get past the cross-gen development situation. So now they are fully able to use the PlayStation 5 at its full capacity and not have it be held back. So they're like, this PlayStation 5 Pro, why? Why would you do this? It's not going to grow gaming. It's not going to bring new people into the ecosystem, because we all know that the PlayStation 5 Pro, that's going to only sell to the hardcore, us that are here right now. These the casuals, they're not going to go out there and spend $600 or possibly, I doubt it, but $700 for this console. It's not going to happen. Hopefully they'll keep it at $500. I would hope so, but I don't know about that being realistic. But yeah, Crimson, they are not really on board is what I'm saying. They would much rather, seems like the feeling was they would much rather stick with the PlayStation 5, go ahead, let that life cycle of that console run its course until they move on to something different, because they haven't pushed the full potential of what that console is able to do. So we'll see, man. I mean, I'm sure there will be certain developers that will push the PlayStation 5 Pro a little bit. I'm really basically talking about Rockstar. I think Rockstar would be the one of the few that would do it. But we know that their first party, they're going to make it do what it does, Crimson. But third party, maybe not so much. And I do remember this too, Crimson, that we were having a conversation about the parity with the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, and me saying that the S was holding back the X. It was this article, brother, and I really, really wish I could remember what it was. Matter of fact, I'm gonna Google it real quick. Probably gonna mess it up, but let's see. Is the Xbox Series S holding back the Series X? No, it's not. It's not bringing anything up. But just for the sake of time, hold on. It's Xbox Series X. Hold on. I might have found something here. Hold on. Now, what time is it? Oh shucks, I gotta get out of here. It says a closer look at the most affordable Xbox Series S occupies a very unique. Actually, this is the thing I would tell you. This is Tech Radar. This is a Tech Radar article from January 16th of this year. I'm kind of scrolling through. It's trying to give the differences. It says, this is a quote, though. I'll read this real quick. It says, if the developers always keep the slowest platform they are targeting in mind first and foremost, then the other platforms should be easier to deal with. End of quote. Oh, it says, using the example of the Nintendo Switch, which he described as, quote, far more limited than other platforms, end of quote. He says the developers, quote, can also use lower quality assets, visual effects, VFX, for the lower end platforms. But if the core still doesn't run well on a Switch, then it will be much more time consuming to get it to run decently at a later stage. So it does seem like it's a little bit of give and take here, Crimson Phoenix. Again, the article that I read, it wasn't this one. This was one from earlier this week where it was another developer that said that they were frustrated with having to deal with the Series X and the Series S, that they would be much better off just having to deal with the Series X console and not having to pull and push, to bring along the Series S. And I think that we saw that as well, Crimson, just being fair about the situation with Baldur's Gate 3. That developer was having a very, very hard time getting that game to work on the Series S console. They went to Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer gave them the green light to do what they could do, and bam, it released. So fact of the matter is, with these Unreal Engine 5 graphics that we just saw from Marvel 1943, god darn, you ain't going to get that on the Series S, my brother. That's just not going to happen. If you get it, it's going to be so compromised, that it's going to not even be worth doing. Just like Mortal Kombat on the Nintendo Switch. They did it, but god darn, at what cost, So if you have this, again, the thing that's messing them up is that parity joint, man. If they didn't have that parity clause in there, that if it runs on the Series X, it has to run on the Series S, they would be far better off. They would probably be having amazing, not saying they don't, but they would have some amazing gaming experiences where you would feel like it is next gen. We have yet to get a Series X game that has ray tracing in it thus far. Where PlayStation, they've had a few of them already. So that's all I'm saying, Crimson. But to your point, though, again, just going back to third party as a whole, or at least based off of that article, they are not really excited about the PlayStation 5 Pro. But we'll see what happens, when we got to cross that bridge when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro. But let's get into the last story of this. I can't even say it a week. I'll just say of this short week. I got this story from Clutch Points. So in a significant shift from its traditional gameplay format, Capcom's next installment in the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil 9, is reportedly in development as an open world game. Now, this news comes from a credible source within the gaming industry. His name is Dusk Golem, who is a YouTuber and well-regarded leaker of Capcom news. Now, I will say this, brother. I can't vouch for this guy, again, Dusk Golem, to say that he is a well-regarded leaker of Capcom news, but according to Clutch Points, he is just that. So I wonder how the world a Resident Evil open world game would be. That is very interesting, man. I'm just thinking about something like what does that entail? Like, how open world are we talking? Are we talking Grand Theft Auto open world? Or are we talking more so like Tomb Raider open world? Because we know the Tomb Raider, that's more of a semi-open world. So when they say open world, I'm just curious, are you going to be able to drive in cars? Or, what are we doing? What is going to be the premise of the game? I definitely look forward to hearing more about this. Would y'all even want a Resident Evil in an open world environment? Because purists will say that Resident Evil is better when it's kind of confined, to a certain space. I know going all the way back to the original, it was the mansion, even in Resident Evil, Codename Veronica, you were going through labs and whatnot, so I'm just curious to know, your thoughts, you guys' thoughts on this being a possibility of happening, and if it's something that would get you excited. But anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week. God darn, it is 7:57. I'm supposed to be getting dressed at 8 o'clock, and it just turned 7:58. Jeez, me Christmas. Really chancing it here. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. So I'm going to ask you guys the question of the week. There will be no video game theater because I got to go. So the question for the week, I know you guys saw it, but let's go over it officially, and I'm going to make this short. Will Xbox lose third-party support? I'm telling y'all, these sales are terrible. Well, they're not terrible. They're not abysmal. They're not Wii U numbers. Let's be fair here. But they don't seem to be towing the mark when it comes to third party. And I think that more so than sales of the console being a factor, I think that the main factor and the reason why these games are not selling on the Xbox brand like these third parties would want them to is two simple words. Game Pass. Game Pass. Game Pass has done something to the Xbox ecosystem that is crazy. People will wait. They're not going to go out there and buy the games. Because why? It may show up in Game Pass in the next 2 or 3 months. So why go out there and spend money on something that I may be able to get for free at a later date? And I'm telling you, that probably is more so the problem. Because to be fair, why pay for something that you can get in your service for free? I mean, it's not free technically, but y'all know what I'm saying. It's free with that service. So I don't know, man. I think that if this continues to be the case and they're not buying, Xbox fans aren't buying the games, or their console sales are not reaching those heights that these third-party developers needed to, I think they'll start to wonder, what's the point? Why should I even invest in this console? I mean, again, you never want to hear a developer saying, why did we even support this thing? Being an answer that they give, with the frustration that they're feeling. So I think that, look, if they don't get it together, they're going to start losing some third-party support. How soon that may be, it could be towards the end of this generation, and they may have to be Nintendo, where they're going to have to get it on their own. I mean, Phil Spencer, again, he's come out there on the record and said in that interview, I can't remember, I forgot the outlet, but Paris Lilly, he was the one that was he was conducting the interview. He said that they've gone to different places and they want to charge them out the wazoo, for certain games to get on their platform, versus PlayStation having a much easier time being able to get these guys over on the platform. And that's easy to understand. It's because PlayStation is the more popular brand. So if that continues to be the case, yeah, they may have to turn into Nintendo. And believe me, they got a ton of different IPs to do it with. They got a ton of them. You got Call of Duty in your stable. You got Overwatch. You got, I don't need to go through the list. Gears, Halo, whatever the case may be. But that is my question for you guys. Possibly, depending on y'all, I'll probably record the episode for listener feedback on Wednesday. But again, for the record, the question of the week: will Xbox lose third-party support? If you want to be a part of the conversation, you can do it 2 different ways. You can either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is simply theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to thank you guys again for being here. Thank y'all so much. So with that being said, before we tie this thing up and wrap that bow around it, always remember, it is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So depending on you guys, Wednesday, possibly, when we do it again, until then, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.